I pinched my arm to make sure I wasn't dreaming. It all seemed like a horrible nightmare, and all I wanted was to wake up as soon as possible in my house after a long night of work. But no, I was awake and alone in front of a somber castle in the middle of the Carpathians, and all I could do was pray for dawn to come as soon as possible. I suddenly heard heavy footsteps coming from behind a huge door of the castle. They were then replaced with the scratching of the metallic locks, which hadn't been used in a long time. The enormous entrance opened up, and an old tall man with a long white mustache appeared before me. His clothes were black from head to toes, without signs of any other color. The old man approached me and talked to me in perfect English, although with a peculiar accent. "Welcome to my home. Feel free to come in out of your own will," he told me. As I crossed the doorstep, he shook my hand with a force that made me flinch. Moreover, his hand felt cold as ice. It felt more like the hand of a corpse than the hand of a living man. I asked him, "Are you Count Dracula?" He nodded politely. "Come in, Mr. Hacker. It is pretty late and my servants are sleeping. Let me help you with your luggage." We crossed a long hallway and a big spiral staircase over a stone floor that made our footsteps echo strongly over the castle. We reached a bedroom warmed by a fireplace. The hearth contained a big fire, bustling with flashing flames. The Count left my luggage, and before going away, he said to me, "You should freshen up a bit. When you are done, please come for dinner." His polite welcome relieved my doubts and fears. I was starving, so I quickly got ready and went to the next room. The Count was waiting for me and pointed to the table. "Please sit down and feel free to eat whatever you want. Also, please excuse me, but I will not be joining you as I usually don't eat dinner." After filling my stomach, the Count and I sat down to chat beside the fireplace, and I had the chance to observe him more closely. He had marked facial features. His face was strong, with a slim nose. His forehead was high and clean, and only a bit of gray hair grew around his temples. His eyebrows were very bushy, almost forming a big single eyebrow. His mouth was slim, with a cruel grin and sharp white teeth that protruded over his lips. His ears were pale and pointy at the top. I asked him about the history of Transylvania, and he answered with big passion. He talked about great people and battles from the past with a lot of detail, almost as if he had lived them himself. We chatted by the fireplace until the first rays of dawn started to appear. Suddenly, from the bottom of the valley, we heard the howling of a pack of wolves. "The children of the night, what beautiful music they sing," said the Count, enjoying the howling of the wolves. We said our goodbyes and he excused himself, as the next day he would be absent until the afternoon. I was able to sleep only for a couple of hours. I got out of bed and spent a good while exploring the castle. I discovered many things that left me unsettled. There were doors everywhere in the castle, all of them locked. I also didn't see a single servant, nor heard any voices or any other noise besides the incessant howling of the wolves. The most strange thing about this castle was that I didn't find any mirrors anywhere, not even in my bedroom. Luckily, I had a travel mirror with me, and taking advantage of the afternoon light, I hung it on my window so I could shave. Suddenly, I felt a cold hand on my shoulder. "Good day," said the Count behind me. I didn't see his reflection in the mirror, which startled me and made me unintentionally cut myself. I checked the mirror again, and the shock I felt left me petrified. The Count's image didn't appear in the mirror. The entire room was reflected, but there was no sign of the man behind me. Then, a line of blood from my cut went down my chin, and when the Count saw it, his eyes flashed with what I can only describe as demonic fury. He plunged towards my throat, I flinched, and the Count saw the crucifix that hung from my neck. When he saw it, his fury vanished. The Count said, "Please, be careful and try not to cut yourself. In this country, it can be more dangerous than you imagine. And that damned thing is what caused it. He took my mirror and with a quick movement threw it out of the window. The mirror broke into pieces after landing on the floor of the inner courtyard. He then went away without saying anything. I felt I had to escape from that place as soon as possible, but with the exception of the windows, there was no way out. The castle was a jail, and I was his prisoner. That's the beginning of the terrifying experience of Jonathan Harker in the novel Dracula, written by the Irishman Bram Stoker. With the passing of time, this vampire has become a cultural icon. However, where did the author get the inspiration to create such a horrifying character? The word Dracula comes from the Romanian term son of Dracul, which means son of the dragon, which in the Catholic faith were similar to demons. Vlad Tepes, governor of the then Principality of Wallachia, which existed in that part of Eastern Europe, was known as the son of the dragon. In his land, some consider him a historical hero for confronting the Turkish invasions. However, he used to be extremely cruel to his enemies, who he sentenced to impalement as well as other forms of torture and execution. He always showed a morbid fascination towards the dungeons of his castle, and it is said that he would pour the blood of his victims in a bowl and dip bread in it to then eat it. He was part of the Order of the Dragon, where members normally used black capes. Thus, black capes later became associated with the classic image of vampires. This is also related to the Hungarian Countess Erzsébet Báthory. According to the legend, she would drink and bathe in the blood of her maidens, believing that doing so would make her young again. When people discovered what she was doing, she was jailed in a sealed room until her death. After his origin, this vampire has served as inspiration for countless film adaptations. From the classic black and white film from the 30s to modern sagas such as Twilight. One of the most recent shows related to vampires is a British miniseries that premiered on Netflix not long ago. It is inspired by the original Dracula novel, and although it has some strokes of humor, it still transmits the same horror and dread that surrounds this mythical character. So, what do you say, TikTakers? Do you dare watch it? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, and if you want to see more Draw My Life videos, subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode!